When you start making claims about Islam, which are now being repudiated, shut your mouth.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. I came across a clip of a collab Just Pearly Things just did with Muslim brother Mohammed Hijab. The vibe seemed quite relaxed and Pedal seemed very respectful towards brother Hijab, which was nice to see. These two do have a brief history, as Mohammed Hijab did call Pearl out after she made some ignorant comments about Islam around a year ago, to which she responded by inviting him onto her platform and vice versa. I guess they finally got round to making it happen. In the preview segment Pearl has released, she asked brother Mohammed about Zionist shill and career Islamophobe Tommy Robinson. Mohammed Hijab proceeded to expose Robinson's ignorance as well as his lack of intelligence, knowledge and backbone. Tommy Robinson has been poking at Mohammed Hijab from behind the screen on X after brother Mohammed's viral appearance on Fresh and Fit, where he corrected them on a number of talking points. Mohammed Hijab responded by challenging Tommy Robinson to a verbal debate as well as a physical confrontation, and Tommy chickened out of both scenarios, yet continued to flap his gums on social media like an obsessed teenager with a hormone imbalance. Let's take a look at Mohammed Hijab telling Pearl why Tommy Robinson is a coward and a fraud.
You seem like a smart guy. It'd be interesting to hear like what you would say to it.
Look, I've had these debates with people who are much more knowledgeable than him.
Yeah.
With all due respect, I mean, actually no due respect, because I don't really like him, to be honest, Tommy Robinson. And I've challenged him to a debate. We've even challenged him to a physical fight.
Oh, really?
But not
Did
me
you not
versus...
accept the debate request? As
Not me versus... Not me versus him.
But yeah, no fighting
many
here.
Many people have already offered him. Fresh and Fit offered him. Many people offered him. He's not interested.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he realizes his lane. He realizes his limitations. The man he's done his GCSEs in this country, which is the basic thing to do. He hasn't studied further than that. He goes against someone who's memorized the entire holy book, the Qur'an. I've memorized the whole thing.
You memorized
the whole thing? I've memorized the whole Qur'an, like 600 pages.
No way, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it took me some time to do it. But the point I'm saying to you is that what are you gonna try and pull the wool over my eyes? It's not gonna happen. I mean, I know the language of the Qur'an. I've spent all these years studying it. But the point is that if you get your knowledge from a person who is a thug, effectively, you know, the equivalent is, you know, in America you have the hillbillies.
So you view him as a thug?
It's not me that views him like that. I think
I'm not saying you're right or I'm just asking.
The society views him that way. I think if you ask 10 people in the streets, white people, what do you think of Tommy Robinson? If they know who he is, they'll say just a you know, you couldn't have a redneck, a thug, a right wing, a racist. You know, he doesn't have a good reputation in this country, and it's because of his stance against people of color, people of different religions, different faiths, etc. I think about 5 or 10 years ago, he was pretty big name actually, even though he was hated by the majority of the population. He was still a big name because he was able to mobilize 5,000 people, 3,000 people on the streets. Now he'd be lucky if he gets 500 people. He doesn't have the same pull, the same aura that he used to have in British politics or society anymore. And he's making claims, and he's written a translation of the Quran, for example, but he doesn't know the Arabic language. So I don't see how that works. I mean, it's like me producing a work of a translation of a Chinese text, and I don't know anything about Chinese. So people have to take things seriously. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy is, in my opinion, when he talks about Islam, he's a fraud. I'm actually flummoxed that some people take the words of a fraud, a charlatan, you know, a scammer, you know, who's using it. And we know where his links are and what money he's getting from whom and why and what the motivations are and the incentives, Zionists and so on.
Yeah, I guess because it was interesting talking to him. What struck me, he did not come off as a scammer to me.
Yes.
He came off to me as someone who felt like, I don't think we got too deep into the religious like that. Like me talking to you, we've spoken, I think, more about Islam than I did with him. I think what I remember is that he felt like there were crimes being hidden, and he had spoken to the communities, the families, and that seemed to be his biggest gripe. He didn't come off as a fraud to me.
Let me ask you a question. You had an issue that required surgery.
Oh, no, I'd go to the doctor.
You'd go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because they could fix me.
Okay,
yes.
So you trust in their training and their academic background?
For a surgery, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm saying to you is, if this is the case with surgery, right, at what point do we say this is not the case for other fields? Because if anyone can speak about anything, okay, without the training, without experience, without going through a proper rigorous training, Muslims, the training is the same, 6-7 years. You have to learn the language, the entire language, the verbs, the nouns, the adjectives, everything. You have to memorize the entire book, 600 pages. No one does that in any tradition, by the way.
So I'm curious, by that logic, would you think that Sneeko shouldn't be talking about it? Because it doesn't strike me like he's memorized the Quran.
No, I'm sure. I'm saying that anyone can speak about things on a basic level.
Yeah.
But when you start making claims about Islam, which are now being repudiated by your seniors in knowledge, then your point is to shut your mouth. What I'm saying is that the kind of rhetoric and the points that Tommy Robinson makes about the religion of Islam, vis-a-vis violence, vis-a-vis gender issues, they have been repudiated. They're refuted. He's not in a position, he's not an authority, to speak about Islam. If he wants to speak about Islam and be serious about it, he should go to school, go through the same process as we all had to go through, and then he can speak about it all he likes. He's just about ready to be a student. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So you couldn't put these two people in
You hear him talk and you just think he has no idea what he's talking about.
Well, sometimes he does have a kernel of truth in what he says, is in his social commentary. He has a right to speak about social things because everyone's observing the same realities. My only issue is that when he's doing so, connecting it with the religion of Islam, I've seen him do it with the primary source, the verses and the hadith. I say, this is incorrect. No scholar in Islam has understood it the way you've understood it, right? He'll still shrug his shoulders and say, I'll continue. What I'm saying to you is that that's tantamount to a layperson telling a surgeon, this is the way we should be doing it. So the question of where you get your knowledge for anything should be of primary importance. Getting your knowledge from Tommy Robinson about Islam is like getting your knowledge about Jews from Hitler or something.
Oh, wow.
No, it's
Do
true.
you guys view him that negatively here?
Oh, yes.
I don't know the whole history of it. Maybe I should have, but I don't.
Tommy Robinson is probably viewed as the leading anti-Islamic figure in the United Kingdom today.
As you saw from the clip, Mohammed Hijab stated Fresh and Fit, amongst others, were willing to moderate the debate between him and Tommy Robinson on a neutral platform, which Tommy is too scared to agree to. The brother also spoke about how he is willing to fight Tommy, I would assume in some sort of legal boxing match scenario, and again, Tommy is too afraid to accept. It just goes to show when it comes to the crunch, these anti-Muslim activist losers are full of hot air. If Tommy genuinely believes in his Islamophobic nonsense, then why not debate about it? It's not like Tommy is a bigger draw than Mohammed Hijab. It's actually the other way around. Like Brother Mohammed said, Tommy can barely get 500 people to gather in the streets these days, as his popularity has dwindled from 5 to 10 years ago. If Tommy wants to prove that non-Muslims are intellectually and physically superior to brown Muslims, then he should accept both Mohammed Hijab's invitations and prove it. Tommy ducking and hiding inadvertently makes the statement that he believes he cannot match up intellectually or physically to a Muslim, thus proving that he is in fact the inferior one. Mohammed Hijab made a great point about Tommy being an uneducated bigot who knows nothing about Islam on a deep level, as he doesn't know the Arabic language, yet he puts out books translating it to push his discriminatory agenda, scamming his audience. I was unaware that Brother Muhammad is a Hafiz. Anyone who has memorised the Quran deserves the utmost respect, alhamdulillah. Tommy Robinson speaks about Islam to morons who have a prejudicial hatred of Muslims and people of different races. His audience only knows about Islam through him and people like him. They are actually brainwashed to think that the West belongs to them, despite having no power over how the governments who rule over them run the countries they reside in. Mohammed Hijab correctly called Tommy Robinson a fraud and a scammer for exploiting the idiots that follow him and exposed him as a plant on the Zionist payroll. I guess Pedro was trying to be neutral by defending Tommy Robinson when she said she doesn't think he's a fraud. To which Mohammed Hijab gave a very honest answer when he said on social issues Tommy may say some things that may be true, but when he tries to link it to Islam by misquoting hadiths and verses from the Quran, he loses all credibility, because no Muslim scholar has ever interpreted scriptures the way Tommy does, and that is for two reasons. Number one, Tommy has a blatant hateful anti-Islamic agenda, and number two, Tommy is not qualified to speak about Islam because he doesn't possess in-depth knowledge. That only comes from years of study under scholars. Pedro was referring to Tommy's stance on grooming gangs in the UK, which involved a small demographic of British Pakistani men who do not represent the majority of the Pakistani Muslim community in the UK, who absolutely condemn this behaviour. This small group also doesn't represent the Muslim demographic on a global scale either, most of whom are not even Pakistani. Add that to the fact that the majority of grooming gangs in the UK are made up of white non-Muslim men, and you see why people have a problem with Tommy trying to demonise the religion of Islam by stereotyping it through the actions of a few nutcases those who were not conducting themselves in an Islamic manner in the first place. I don't think Tommy Robinson is man enough to accept Mohammed Hijab's challenge, and like the brother said, he is the equivalent of a redneck hillbilly that has been refuted on all fronts and can't be taken seriously, and this was yet another example of him being discredited yet again. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description, where we as Muslims can speak freely and without censorship about issues like this, in order to guide and support each other in our deen. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah, Jazakallah khair.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah